All right, welcome back to a fantastic episode of Delayed Offside, the first full cast episode we've had in what feels like months.
It's been a while.
It's been a bit.
I gotta go.
Been a bit. Even if he didn't leave, he would just freeze. We all know it. It's just going to be like, I gotta. And it'll be like an hour later. We're like, oh, Adam was still here.
Crotch shot the entire time.
He'd do that on purpose, though. Come on. All right, so we're going to start with a new segment today called Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. And how this is going to work is I'm going to ask a question. Thank you.
To the segment.
I'm going to make a statement, and whether you think it's true or not, like yes or no, thumbs up, yeah, that's right, or thumbs down, no. And I might pick one of the three to talk on a topic, or I might just move on. And if you talk, it's going to be quick, like nothing too long, because we got a lot to get through here. But we're going to start it off with something there to get Pilon's whistle wet, which is Toronto, the best team in the North Division. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Adam, you say thumbs down. How come?
They have a difficult time beating Ottawa. Oilers don't. Boom.
Jeez. But the Leafs seem to
Whoa,
be.
Pilon,
did we ask?
Did
we ask?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I know
One
how to
person
speak.
speaks. One person allowed to speak. Thank you.
Oh, I see how this is
If
going
you
to
had
be.
done this on Saturday, it would have been a much different tone to the
Oh,
podcast.
for sure. Fairness, I prepped this podcast as if it was going to be like going to a funeral. Like, they're never going to be good again. Number two. Is Matthews the second best player in the league? Ooh, let's go with Sanjay.
Ooh, we're talking just forwards. I hate to say it, but there's two in Edmonton that are pretty good. I mean, Draisaitl just won the Hart last year, and they have McDavid, so that's automatically he's third so far, and that's not even including Crosby. So
I should have actually got Pilon to speak, but
I just love.
I'm not allowed to speak to about.
I love
in
how
this
you
segment.
how you have put him on Exile Island.
He's on Robida. He's on Robida Island, just like every Leafs fan wants Robida Island. Was Daryl Sutter the right choice for the Flames as head coach? All right, Pilon, you can pitch your woo for this one.
I mean, it hasn't worked out, but that team needed a kick in the ass, and he's the one to do it.
I like it. Will Johnny Gaudreau be on the Flames next year? Thumbs up, yes. Thumbs down, no. All right, Sanjay, tell us why.
he'll start with the Flames. We'll see how the season goes because he's got a contract. So will he end with the Flames? I don't know, but I don't think he's getting traded in the offseason.
Vancouver be a playoff team next year? I'm going to go with Pilon on this one just because Sanjay is the dissenting voice, but that's just him for everything. So
Their defense is just so bad that I find it hard to believe that they'll have that big of a rebound next year. I think they'll be better next year, but not a playoff team yet.
Jets won the Line A trade. You know what, Pilon, you've been on Robida a little too long, but I'm gonna go to you again because I'm curious on this one. Go ahead.
Obviously, right now it looks to be that way, but I still think Line A brings something that Pierre-Luc Dubois can't, and that's elite goal scoring.
Well, the North Division playoff teams already set?
I hope not.
Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, they are. At least the top three teams are set in stone, I would say. Those three are just ahead above the rest of the class. And if Montreal can turn it around to what they had at the beginning of the season, they're in as well.
Will this be a busy trade deadline? Safe bet. I think we all feel the same. And lastly, who's ready to get into some delayed offside? I think Sanjay went with a good one there. Just like, no.
We'll just end it now.
You're going to lose your hour of your life. You might as well just decommit. All right, let's start it up. All right, we're going to start this episode off with a couple of different things. There's a lot of big issue events that kind of occurred. So we'll address the one specific to Canada first, and then we'll go to the one that's a little more to the NHL. The specific to Canada one would be the North Division for the first time has actually faced the COVID crisis, where it has delayed games, taken players out, not just for like one player or not just because a test result came back differently, but actually like, hey, these guys are removed for this reason. And the Montreal Canadiens versus Oilers games that were scheduled for this week had been shut down and now have to be rescheduled, to actually, I think, tomorrow, and one day off and the next day. They like slid them in there well, and then wrapping it up at the end of the season on May 11th. With this occurring in Canada, finally a COVID case occurring, is there cause for concern with the league? Is this something that we should be taking more serious, or has the Canadian division done a better job than the American divisions in mitigating the risk factors here? We're going to go to Robida Island specialist reporter himself, Ryan Pilon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's cause for concern when this occurs. Luckily, hopefully, they nipped this in the bud before it spread amongst the other North Division teams. I mean, we've really been lucky here in the North that we haven't had this affect us like some of the other divisions. So, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, obviously, COVID's affecting Canada just like it is anywhere else, and the players can catch it too here in Canada. So, I mean, it was always potential. Luckily, it hasn't been a big issue, and hopefully this is it.
Do you think that with the increase in variants becoming an issue, that that we are more and more likely to have something shut us down moving forward? We'll go to Alberta reporter Sanjay, who lives in like one of the two epicenters of COVID in Canada. Well, actually, there's like every province that has a problem, and really Adam's in a worse place than you. But still, we're gonna go with you on this because you had more experience long term with it.
Yeah, with the variants and stuff, very well could be. They just removed like glass behind the bench and stuff like that, so it could just be even more isolation, or maybe if this is an issue, it comes up, they could move back into a bubble or something, because that seemed to work pretty well for the playoffs. So, wait and see. I don't know. The good thing is that vaccines are starting to roll out, especially down south in America. So as those vaccines get more and more available, then, the COVID for the players will be less and less impacted. So let's hope that they just get vaccinated and don't have to worry about this anymore.
Are you going to wear a cowboy hat from here on out, like every episode? Is that like your trail? Like,
this is my new thing. I'm trying it out.
Do you do that for every podcast? Like, are you like,
I hope
are you like, Batman's my favorite superhero, but you're rocking a like cowboy hat for that podcast too, or not?
Well, science has shown that anyone that wears a cowboy hat is 35% more attractive. So I'm just going.
And
with
Sanjay
science.
needs all the help he can get.
I would say, as someone who also has a mustache, there's a definite drop off from that, about 80%. So it's like you've never met him in person, but you've burned him in life.
I know. We've never hung out Sanjay, but
Not yet, but
And now we never will.
It's true. Sanjay comes to Saskatchewan like the least of the Koshals. It really is.
Well, you come to Alberta, the least of the Zeronis, so.
I really don't.
He probably just goes to Edmonton more often than Calgary.
Yeah, he never comes to Calgary.
I really don't. I just you can never visit Sanjay if you go there. Like, his brother will either drag you to a place and Sanjay will be like, I'm not going there. Or Sanjay will be like, ooh, it's after 8:00. And you don't see him at all. So it's just like, it's tough. It's
just
tough.
when you come. When my other cousins come back, I always make time. But when Baron comes, I'm always like,
in fairness, when your other cousins come, they're traveling from India, so it's a bigger deal than when I come from Saskatchewan. Let's just call a spade here. It's a much bigger deal, isn't it?
I know what you're afraid of, Baron. It's that you're going to go over there and you want to explore the city, but he's going to sit you down in a couch in a nice dark room and play that Zack Snyder Justice League for you over and over.
To date.
You watch it at least 5 times.
To date, the worst trip I've had going something to hang out with a cousin in Calgary is with Sanjay, who took me to the Deerfoot Mall, because they had like a liquidation world there that was bigger than other places.
Time out.
Look for stuff. And he started looking at all these like hockey jerseys from the Canada, a people's history, where they had all these like crappy hockey sweaters on sale for money. There's like every time I mentioned it, people were like, why did he take you there? It was like my second time going to Calgary on my own. He was just like,
liquidation world.
Time out. I just want to back the truck up. Let's back the truck up. Let's start from the beginning. Baron tells me, I'm not really planning this. He tells me last minute. And I'm like, well, you know what? There's a store at Deerfoot Mall which has jerseys. And I know he likes hockey jerseys. And it is the best jersey store in the city. And they always have discounts. Like, they'd have like 25%, 50% off. So I take him to Deerfoot Mall where the jersey store is. The damn thing's closed down. I had no idea it was closed down.
Because
So
no one goes to that mall, Sanjay. No one goes to that mall.
50% off jerseys. You would have been like, this was a great experience.
Thank you, maybe
Sanjay.
the 50% off was the closing going out of business thing?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I didn't read the whole sign.
Back on track for this podcast as people aren't listening to the Deerfoot Trail experience. But are we thinking that the season's actually going to end in Canada on May 11th? Adam, do you feel that that's actually an obtainable goal, or at this stage it's unlikely to happen?
Sorry, all I can picture is Sanjay walking around Liquidation World with Baron going like, look, that's a good price for that table. That chair could be reupholstered.
I think I actually did buy something from that.
You did. So, you bought some Tennessee Titans like decals, I want to say.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I do think that
had some.
I do think that date is attainable. I think there does still need to be wiggle room just in case, but I think that, the league has dealt with some of those problems and they have to stick to that date. So if it comes down to starting to look at those winning percentages and deciphering playoffs based on that, like that might need to be looked at. Like I look at teams like the Dallas Stars, who lost an abundance of games early in the year to COVID. I was like, I don't know if they'll get the 56 in. So it's going to be tight, but they might have to go to winning percentage for the playoffs in some areas.
Well, traditionally, too, the teams that seem to have been afflicted by COVID have really not rebounded well. The Buffalo Sabres, the Dallas Stars, all these teams. New Jersey, Boston to some degree, too. Like, they've all taken a hit and had a hard time getting back on track. And that is something concerning, too. Like, you have one thing happen, because it doesn't take much. Anyone can get sick, and all of a sudden, your season's derailed.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I can't remember. Did any Montreal players? Oh, I guess they don't actually say if any Montreal players actually.
There was Armia and Kotkaniemi.
Kotkaniemi's
right,
back
but
on
was
the
it
ice.
Just?
It's Armia. Armia right now is not practicing.
Right.
Kotkaniemi is.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's likely that Kotkaniemi did not have it, but was a close contact. Whereas it is very likely that Joel Armia probably does.
Okay, so just one player. So
they have to tell you. They have to report if it's a COVID thing.
Okay, I thought there were rules that the NHL had that they wouldn't tell you if someone had COVID or not. But
no, because you go on a COVID protection list.
That was in the bubble. That was in the playoff
bubble. Okay.
Right. You don't want to buy
undisclosed.
I remember seeing the names, but I couldn't remember seeing if they actually had COVID or if it was just a close contact or concern, that type of thing. So, but I mean, if it's only one player, then I guess I was going to say it'll be interesting to see when Montreal comes back how well they perform or if we see a dip in their play. But I mean, obviously, if it's just the one player that's actually sitting out, it's probably not going to affect their play too much at this point.
The other piece of news that occurred this week that is a little more implicated to the rest of the league, that has a little bit more of an effect, is actually veteran ref Tim Peel being caught on mic talking about makeup calls, specifically in a game between, I think it was Nashville and
Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit, and talking. And the weird part is, like, Matt Duchene says that recording was him talking to the team, which seems weird to me. But because why would you say, like, I wanted to give Nashville a penalty to the Nashville Predators? Why wouldn't you just say, I wanted to give you a penalty?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
right.
It didn't make sense to me. But anyways, so he's caught on saying this, and I don't know how you guys felt, but I actually didn't think this was big news, because I think as a longtime hockey fan, you start to accept that this is how the game is nowadays, with makeup calls, with false penalties, and so forth. Am I on my own on this, or do you guys also think that this is potentially how it kind of is?
Oh, it's for sure how it is. It's just the fact that it's never actually been said out loud before. And so the fact that it was actually said out loud by a referee and heard by the public, well, now it's actually out there, and there's actual evidence that the refs are doing this, as opposed to just, fans saying that that's the case. But you're right. I mean, Tim Peel got suspended not because of what he did, but because he got caught saying that.
Is this damaging? Do you feel this is damaging to the league or to the reffing association at this point?
I do. Absolutely. You've got a guy saying, like, I wanted to get one against this team, when, like, you look at a game like tonight, for instance, between the Oilers and the Maple Leafs, and like it was chippy in terms of like a number of missed tripping calls that were pretty blatant. There were some it was just awful officiating, in my opinion. But like I find from game to game, it's like hit or miss with reffing. You're like, how's it going to be this game?
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that, but I actually feel like today's game against the Leafs and the Oilers was reffed like playoff hockey.
I agree,
and I will
do
tell
agree
you
with you there. Yeah,
there were a couple hints as to that even Sportsnet thought that this was a playoff hockey style game. That crowd noise that they pump into the game was louder than it had ever been. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Was your TV just higher volume?
No, like it was just really loud. And I think that they were testing it. And I'm betting you that when the playoffs actually arrive, that fake crowd noise is going to be louder than it is right now. Yeah. And I think that was part of it too. The refs called 2 penalties. That is it for the entire game. And like people said, like, there's a guy on Twitter, and I want to say his name the wrong way. I want to say Jeff Vallette, or I'm trying to remember, but he does a lot of writing for, he does a lot of hockey talk specifically around the Leafs, but he pointed out, he's like, well, this one, like, penalty should have been called against the Oilers. And reversely, Draisaitl had 2 guys on him, and that should have been called, and neither were. Mm-hmm. And you have to wonder, like, is officiating bad, or is it just that it's not consistent?
It's not consistent. I mean, we talked about this a few episodes ago about how frustrating it is with NHL officiating, because no one knows what is a penalty and what's not. You might see a penalty called on one guy for doing one thing, but then later on, someone else will do that exact same play and there's nothing called. And it's an issue. And the fact that they're talking about managing games kind of pisses me off, to be honest. Refs shouldn't be managing a game. They should just be calling penalties by the rule book. Like, I'm sick and tired of makeup calls or evening up the penalties. I was listening to the not Delayed Offside podcast. Although I do listen to that. Everyone should. I was listening to the Steve Dangle podcast, and they went through like the past few days of games and looked at all the penalties, and all of them were within like 1 penalty of each other, both teams, for every single game. And it's ridiculous that's happening. If one team is committing tons of penalties and the other one isn't, call it that way. Because what's happening is, I mean, the ref doesn't want to be responsible for a team winning, but in some ways you are anyways. Because a team, let's say like Boston Bruins, because I know that they do this, they'll just go out and commit a shit ton of penalties. Because they know, okay, we're going to get called on some, but they're not going to call every single one we do. So we're going to start getting away with everything. So the refs need to just start calling all the penalties, and call the penalties consistently and evenly. And don't worry about makeup calls or evening them up. Or, if someone gets hurt, all of a sudden there's a penalty, even though it was like a clean hit. Third periods, call it the same as the first and second period. Same with overtime. Same with playoffs. Playoffs should be called the same as the regular season. Like, why is it that these very entertaining, skilled, fast teams that are so much fun to watch in the regular season are all of a sudden penalized for being very talented? And it's the other brand of hockey, the rough tumble, grittier hockey, that's rewarded in the playoffs. Like, that's
ultimately boring.
Exactly. Like, I would prefer to see, Oilers, Leafs, Stanley Cup final, 2 really high skilled teams. as opposed to, like, I don't know, like Dallas and LA or something, like, what I mean, Columbus and the Islanders, right, where they just like collapse in front of the net and they don't put on any offensive pressure, and it's just defense all the time. And why are we rewarding that kind of hockey? Like, you as the NHL should want fans to enjoy the product. And I find, at least, the skilled, fast, high-scoring type of hockey is way more entertaining to watch. And you can't do that. Sorry. Yeah, I'm done. Go.
I want to say it's interesting you make that point, because there's like when the Seattle Seahawks were winning the Lombardi Trophy, were winning the Super Bowl, the conversation around them is that they would take penalties heavily in the first quarter, knowing that later on in the game, refs would not call it.
Right.
Yeah. And you have to wonder, like, if you're really paying attention, if you are actually a smart coach and so forth, you would have to be aware of that. But I mean, the line is fine. Like, a team like Winnipeg a couple of years ago was the most penalized in the league, brought in a retired ref to show them what they had to do differently, and went from being one of the top penalized teams to one of the least. So I think there is a knowledge out there, but there's been so much that's changed. Like, if you know the name of a ref outside of like Wes McCauley, if you know the name of a ref, you probably know a ref that no longer is in the league anymore. And you have to wonder if that distance from them has made it so that they're just like an untouchable thing almost.
Oh,
right?
absolutely, yes. Well, look, like, a coach can't even criticize a ref without getting fined nowadays, right?
Mhm.
And they're not made available to the media. Again, listening to the Steve Dangle podcast, they were talking about how other leagues like the NBA, like they'll actually release news releases stating, missed calls and such, and they were looking more at because of gambling. And I thought it was a fairly good point in that I think I don't think this whole thing with Tim Peel is going to change anything. I think eventually it's just going to be forgotten about. I mean, they didn't even fire the guy. Like, he's still getting paid. He's just not going to ref for the rest of the year.
He's retiring in a month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they were really serious about it, if they were really upset about, oh, we don't like the way you were calling that game, I mean, he should have faced harsher sentence, but they didn't punish him because they're not really upset about it, because all the refs ref that way because they tell them to. They tell the refs to ref that way.
Hey, Tim, you did what we asked you. Sorry, it was a hot mic. Take some more cash and
have an early retirement. Here's
take an early vacation.
But it's a fair point. Like, should Tim Peel be punished for doing something that everyone, one, already knows they do, and two, that isn't technically considered a problem, except for the fact that now it's out there publicly. Like, everyone knew it. You can literally watch a game and see when a call is coming. So is it really, like, what's he being punished for? He's not being punished for doing it. He's being punished for being caught on a mic, which is not even his own fault, right?
Yeah. I would say, like, if you're going to do anything, suspend him for like a game or two, like, you would a player. But I just slap on the, like, I think it was a little harsh for him, because you're exactly right. Every ref is doing it.
Yeah. Well, I think it just shows that, like, refs are human too, and they have, like, a bias towards certain teams or certain players. Like, this happened a couple of years ago, but Dennis Weidman was dumb and he hit a ref from behind. Calgary went from being the least penalized team in the league to the most penalized team in the league overnight. And you can't tell me that was just by accident. The refs knew what Weidman had done, and they were upset at the Flames, and the Flames got so many more penalties after that. And at the time, everyone was like, yeah, like, this is what happened. And the league's like, no, we investigated and there's nothing going on.
How do you
But now I think Flames have a case.
Oh, yeah. The Reffing Association could be considered the 33rd team in the NHL come next year, because it's going to be 32 teams. But,
I mean, they do have a tough job.
because they can win the cup, right?
Hey, they do in some ways, Baron. You watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth.
Well, with all the NHL head coaches that have been asked about this Tim Peel thing, all of them have been praising the refs and how great of a job they do. Well, you wonder why, because they know if they say something against the refs, that's going to, exactly, they're going to get the calls against their team, right?
How bad would that go if you were just like, you know what, screw them, and then just like, what's going on?
Just let loose. Everything. If anyone would, it would be Daryl Sutter. He would just let loose.
I was going to say Buffalo, because at this point, who cares? But
I'll say Daryl only lets loose on his own players. So
that he didn't play
well. It worked, though.
Enough, as much energy as his 499th game.
I thought that was super funny. It's like, how do you think his play has been throughout the years? Well, if that was energy played in his 499th game.
We're going to talk about them later.
Joe played an amazing 500th game, so
I'll be honest. Like, when that happened, did you not think to yourself, yeah, he's not going to stay? Like, I wouldn't. Like,
Gaudreau?
Oh, yeah. When that happened, I was like, that's it. Like, he's done. He's not.
Well, I mean, Daryl probably, like, talked to him after. I imagine he didn't just leave it at that. Like, I think he's a straight shooter, an honest guy, and he probably didn't like the way Gaudreau played the day before. And it's unfortunate, because I think Gaudreau's the best player on the Flames, so you never like to see him get criticized, but as I said, he rebounded and played his best game under Daryl Sutter the next day. So
I think Daryl has put that horse out to pasture.
I love how Baron hates my impression.
You know what? Years ago, when I first met you, we were at a party and your sister was there and you were doing impressions and your sister sat there and she said this. I don't know why you guys laugh. He's not funny. And it just, it's just the longer I know you, Adam, the more I understand your sister.
Dude, I could honestly, in her defense,
said that. She legit said, she's just,
I know,
like,
but
she had this drink in her hand. She's just like, I don't know why you guys are laughing. He's not funny.
So like,
it's like burned.
I couldn't imagine living with me for as in a lifetime. Like, obviously it's proof I've sent one drinking away. And like, I don't know. I'm starting to question whether I can keep saying, like, I know I have 3 boys that love me dearly and they'll be able to live with me because they're exactly like me. But sometimes I'm in my head and I'm like, shut up. And I can't turn it off.
Oh, that's awesome.
Pilon, you mentioned about the Bruins.
Hey, we were talking about Adam.
This will go around to Adam.
I'm going to make this go right back to Adam somehow. Just give me a second. Let me work my way. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So you mentioned about the Bruins. That's the Eastern team that gets away with things. Okay, Adam and Baron and me. On 3, let's name the team in the West that always gets away with every penalty that the refs never seem to call, and it seems like the rule book is different for them.
In the West?
In the West. 1, 2, 3. Mighty Ducks.
Ducks. You're absolutely right. I was like, who does he want me to say? There's a lot of teams in the West.
Oh no! As soon as you said the question, it's like it is the Ducks.
It is.
I don't know if it is as much anymore now because most of the veterans are gone. But oh my god, that team could literally just sit there and just like nailing a guy with a stick, and they'd be like,
yeah. Oh, dude, you heard like Bieksa talking on Hockey Night in Canada, right? And he's like, first thing I'd do, I'd be like, how's the night, boys? You guys, good day today, hey? Talking to the refs, compliment them, and he'd be like, and we'd get away with everything. He's like, whether it was like 5 feet away from the red line dump in, no icing, they'd be easy on us.
The smartest kids in like lower level hockey go thank the refs after the game, and after they have trouble with the penalty, ask questions. Like, hey, what did I do wrong? What did I do different? Because honestly, once they know you and they get to like you or not see you as someone who's making more work for them, it changes their mentality.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going quickly. I forgot to complete my thought on the betting part of it. I think that's like, the money is going to be the only thing that actually makes the NHL change the minds.
I thought you meant like comforter and sheets.
Jeez.
I thought you were going to tell us who your hot picks were this week.
Yeah, you give us an inside track.
Like Pilon's hot run, smooth Ryan's lock of the week.
I keep that to myself because that's how I win all the fantasy drafts. But anyways, if I as a consumer am going to spend money and bet on a game, and I know, or it's already been revealed that the refs are managing games and basically deciding the game for themselves in some ways on the penalty calls, like, am I going to want to bet money on that sport? And it's a huge business. Yep. So I think that's going to be the only thing that's going to actually sway the NHL to, okay, maybe we actually have to call consistent penalties throughout the season, every period, every game, regular season, playoffs, so that it's very apparent to the better as to like what are the rules, right? And gives them a bit of a better edge as to who they want to place their bets on.
I thought about that too. That's a really good point. And I thought immediately, I was like, why would I bet on a game now when like these refs are talking like they're actually trying to give makeup calls? I was like, that like creates insecurity within betting that is very insecure anyways. So,
But at the same time, guys, when's the last time that any of you can say that a game was completely and I know everyone always thinks the refs make bad calls, but like a major game, an important game where the refs really blew something. Like for me, outside of the Dallas, Sanjay's going to say about the goal called off. I'm going to say the Dallas Stars.
I'm going to say Dougie Gilmore high stick.
No,
I'm going to say
that's fair.
And I'm going to say the Anaheim Ducks game against the Edmonton Oilers, round 2, 2016 playoffs.
Or actually, think about what series was that with Vegas last year? Who were they playing last year?
They were playing the
San Jose?
Sharks.
San Jose, right?
That's huge. That was a huge one too.
That was big.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Okay, well,
was that a
buried me.
makeup call or was that a mistake? Like if it's a mistake, I mean, it's human error. But I mean, if it was a makeup call, then they changed the outcome of that series.
Vegas could also have like stopped the puck.
Yeah.
Sorry, like that. Who scores that many goals? Like in a
I've never
playoff
seen
game?
that before in a 5-minute
You'll-
power play. I've only seen maybe one, max two.
You'll
Never
never
seen
see
one
it
with
again.
4?
I bet you'll never see it again in your lifetime, or you'll see it again in 20 years. It's going to be so rare.
Yeah.
We're going to move on a little bit just because we've been on this topic for a little while. But some of the things that have occurred around COVID that kind of are going to hopefully make some big changes come our way are that the Canadian government has now issued a mandate or a whatever, or an amendment, and essentially that the quarantine period is going to be 7 days due to an increase in testing instead of 14 days, which will allow people to start making trades with U.S. teams as players will start to remove them from their no-trade list, knowing that they're only going to be away for 1 week. And reversely, the teams will start trading for players, knowing that they can have them almost instantaneously, well, semi-instantaneously.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about this as a move? Like, is this actually going to create any more trades, or is this just kind of one of those pie-in-the-sky things? Sanjay, you've been quiet. Go for it.
I go first.
Yeah, man, I hope this creates moves because I don't imagine this is going to be a busy trade deadline. Like every year they build it up, and every year it's like a letdown, and it's like worse than the year before. So hopefully that given the 7 days, spur some more trade, and it certainly won't hurt. So I'm hoping. I think it'll help.
And technically, it already has resulted in a trade. That Eric Staal trade, I don't think would have happened without the change to 7 days. I think initially he had the Montreal Canadiens on his no trade list because he did have that no trade clause in his contract.
Every team was on that.
Every Canadian
on
team
that
was
list is
full of-
now off.
and you hear of all these players like Palmieri. I've heard because I really would like maybe Palmieri to go to Toronto. I've heard he's like Toronto's on his list, and I think that the 14 days is a factor. Maybe it's not everything, but if that's the biggest factor for them, and now that's down to 7, well, maybe now they're open to the idea of coming up north to Canada.
Yeah, you nailed it. Like it really softens that window, and the effect it can have on creating chemistry quickly with your team. It's still a week, but it's not 2, and that I think it's important to get those guys in as fast as possible to start to try to create that chemistry with other teammates. And when that's dampened by 7 days, it's a difficult thing to do in a really short season.
Is like with the Eric Staal trade, let's talk a little bit about this, and then let's start exploring some of the other potentials here. But is he going to make an impact on the Montreal Canadiens, and do we think the Montreal Canadiens are done now that they have Eric Staal? Like, they already have a top 3 center system there, so where is Staal really going to fit in here, and what is he going to provide for this team?
Well, I think he makes them older, along with the acquisitions of Perry and having Weber. Like, they're an older team. He does bring veteran leadership. He brings experience in terms of winning a cup and what it takes, but really what they need is scoring, and it's something that they've lacked. And you've got an injured Tyler Toffoli, who's your scorer. Suzuki's cooled off. You need scoring, and you're not necessarily getting it with a third, fourth line center.
Yeah, if they get the Eric Staal from Minnesota, they just added some more depth. And that's really what Montreal is, scoring depth. Like, you're right, Adam. I don't think they have a lot of elite goal scorers. Mm-hmm. They are among one of the top teams in the league in terms of goals for per game, but that's just because of their scoring depth. They have a lot of guys who are getting goals throughout the lineup, but they're not getting, except for Toffoli, and I think Gallagher is on a regular 82 game season, he'd be on pace for over 30 goals. Other than that, everyone else is under 30, which isn't bad. I mean, they have a bunch of, 20 some odd goal scorers in their
Are you
lineup.
fighting with yourself? Are you having an argument with yourself?
I'm trying to
They have no depth scoring, but
unbiased.
they have actually some really depth scoring here.
They have depth scoring, but they don't have
the rest of the
elite.
guys suck. I mean, they got some elite
scoring.
guys.
So
They got
are
some
you
elite
saying-
guys covering these spots in the third place? I mean, Toffoli's third overall, but like the rest of the team.
Yeah,
Never ask a
yeah.
Leafs
Like-
fan to talk about Montreal. It never goes well.
I know. Well, I'm trying to agree with Adam, but disagree with him at the same time. So that's just how I am. Hey, I was a reporter. I try to be unbiased and show both sides. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so that's my process.
Well, what's super funny is I was watching Barron in the bottom, and you started talking. He's like, and that stupid mustache is sitting there. He's
Barron's still hoping for Montreal to get first place.
I give up. I've given up on that, but I do think they'll make the playoffs.
Oh, they're making. I honestly think the North is done. No offense, Sanjay.
Oh,
I
I
thought
still
Calgary was going to give a shot there, but I think it's done.
Lucic
still
is going to
time.
drag those Flames right in there.
Calgary needs to.
I was
in
reading-
Montreal 4 times to end the year, so 4 games
That's-
played.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
all four teams have over a 90% chance of making the playoffs right now.
If every team
So
that's
you're
currently in the
saying there's
playoffs
a
goes,
chance.
Yes.
it's like if every team in the top four goes 500, Calgary would still have to do something like 2-1 or 3-1 wins.
Yeah.
Well, who's to
Make the
say
playoffs.
Montreal's going to go 500? You
And I
mentioned
have
teams come
unfinished
back from
business.
COVID; they're not as strong.
I have unfinished business.
It's true. It's true.
Don't count me out. I'm gonna castrate these damn teams in the north.
I'm just gonna say, if Calgary makes the playoffs, they're gonna go on one hell of a run. And would you want to play that team with Sutter as your coach if they just make it, playing
Yes.
700?
I would
would.
love to play Calgary.
I would.
I
On
know you
Battle of
would.
Alberta too. I think it's a nice walk to the second round.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Break from
Get
those
a little
Leafs.
break. Yeah.
Since Sutter's came back, the series is 1-1. Okay, so it's
Right,
not.
he's 500
It's a
for
do-over.
everything. Actually, he's literally 500 as the coach. I honestly thought when he came back that they would have an increase and then eventually drop off. But it's it's been.
They did. It was just a very quick, very
Yeah.
short increase.
It's
And then
essentially
it's just been one
it's
and
the
one.
Callaway
basically.
Park roller coaster, Sanjay. It's not that exciting. It goes around the loop a couple times, a little up, you're sideways for
That's
a bit.
Western Canada's largest outdoor amusement park you're talking about, sir.
And hopefully one day sponsor of the Delayed Offside podcast.
That's right.
Callaway Park.
Yeah.
Make your kids puke.
Working into everything. Free prizes at the duck hunting thingy or whatever.
Have you ever
A long
thought
time.
about what it'd be like to be a Flintstone and Bedrock?
Not allowed anymore. They took it
Yeah.
out.
They don't own that anymore. Come
Don't.
Oh,
They took it out.
don't get us sued here.
YouTube's gonna demonetize this video, so don't.
Dude,
get
I
us
remember going to Callaway Park and being like, their decor was very like Bedrock, and I was like, oh my god, this is like Flintstones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great story. That was fantastic.
We're sorry that you
Yabba
haven't
dabba
been
doo.
passed out of the province, Ryan. Like, it's not our fault. One trip to Hamilton and then back here, like, we're fine. Okay. Ontario, see scenic Hamilton, home of Jeff Basili's potential NHL franchise.
And the very first Tim Hortons.
Ooh, did you go?
Oh, hey.
I have. It's
you
wonderful.
would. You would. Did the bathroom
It's-
have like one of those blue lights, like the ones do?
It was a
in-
goal siren light. So every time the Leafs scored, you knew.
So it never worked. It's like a free donut for every time the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, and they're like, "We're just dying to give this away."
Actually, the best thing that's happened this year was when Vancouver Canucks tried to give away free jerseys, retro jerseys for every goal scorer, and they were shut out in both
Shut out.
games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both games.
The owner
Yeah.
told them, "Is like, look, we can't give away these jerseys for free, so you guys just eat the loss."
We've been so off track. This is why we have
Yeah,
to
we're
remove
worried.
we have to remove one member each week just to kind of function as a unit.
I
Yeah.
have a question I've been thinking of. Has Beagle listened to the podcast?
No, I don't think he has.
You forward that to him, and
You might as well
tell him
make
to
a
show all his
request.
friends.
You might as well make a request to the Canucks staff to have him on as an interview. Come on, Sanjay.
oh yeah, Sanjay, work your magic.
Well, I just want to see if this thing will last. I don't really want.
You're not really
him
friends
on
with him, are you? You're not really friends with him.
It's a Photoshop picture behind him.
Who was
I don't even know you.
Who was Mike's friend that used to play for the Lightning? The one that got the Stamkos jersey signed for Pavin.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Well, I have a buddy who's friends with Coburn.
There's something.
Yeah.
Braden Coburn.
Right. Start getting
He's
some
from
interviews
Shaunavon.
on here.
Roddy.
Oh yeah, it would be Roddy.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Rodinus. Shout out,
All right.
buddy.
Well,
I feel bad for
This has turned into like a
this
delayed
one.
offside meeting where we're trying to figure out like next content.
Hey, man,
you should know what the next content is. It's just trying to get there.
We thought
It's
all of
really
you would like to
hard.
see a behind the scenes as to how we operate and figure it out.
Wendell
Like
Clark's
a
mom
car
has a
accident.
cabin across the street from my parents, and Kerry Clark, his brother, lent me his kayaks last year. He's like, he used them, brought them over. Super nice guy.
The country singer,
Yes,
Kerry Clark.
Terry Clark.
that's Terry you're
Oh.
thinking of.
No, Kerry, not Terry.
Oh, Carrie. They said Terry Clark.
Take off
Terry's
your
a
cowboy
woman.
hat. You don't even know his name. Country music singer.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. It was
You
just
shell.
folded over my ears.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the other Canadian teams and some of the moves that we're going to go with. We can do thumbs up for buyers, thumbs down for sellers. I know it's a little bit of a rehash, but you can throw back to things every once in a while. So I'm going to list the team. You tell me if they're going to be buyers and sellers, and then someone can take a lead and tell me if they think they're going to buy. So thumbs up, buy, thumbs down, sell. And I'll have to read it out just in case someone is like me and puts it on and then just turns it away because they can't stand looking at
It is.
Ryan.
Standings up.
That's fair.
Just kidding. Okay, let's start west and turn east. So the Vancouver Canucks buyers are sellers. Universally, everyone said sellers. Let's go with closeted Canucks fan Ryan Pilon.
Well, obviously, I mean, I know they're a bit on a hot streak now, but they're not going to make it.
No, it's
They put themselves way too far deep in that hole. So I think they have to start looking at getting rid of some of their older players. I think the big names that they should look at getting rid of is Travis Hamonic, who I've heard they're not interested in selling off. I think they should. And Alex Adler, I think he'd be another one. You need to bring in some great assets, and these are two big names that could do that.
I think the problem with Hamonic is that apparently he is not willing to move. He's happy there,
But he's a UFA. Oh, but does he have a no movement clause?
I'm not sure, but this is
Right.
when he came up in conversation on like sports radio. The conversation is that he's not in any. He likes playing out there. He has no interest in moving.
Oh, like
And
other teams would hear that and then not want to trade for him. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm
He does have a
thinking-
no movement clause, so there you go. So
Yeah.
Also,
Let's go to the Calgary Flames. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, another universal sellers. But it's going to be big to hear from. It's going to be a big talk from Little Man Sanjay about his Calgary Flames. So tell me why you think they're sellers and who should they sell?
Yeah, I think some of the players that are upcoming restricted free agents that have some value. David Rittich, if Toronto, if Anderson's out for long term, he's looked really good against Toronto, so I think that inflates his value. And Toronto will be like, oh, this he's an all-star. He made the all-star team last year. We'll trade him our first for him. And
jeez. Okay.
Negotiate. You be Sanjay. You be Brad Treliving, Ryan Pilon. You be Dubas, and make that trade.
I will trade you.
right.
I will trade you David Ayers for David Rittich. Straight up.
What if I throw in a Boston Pizza franchise?
Ooh.
David Ayers. David Rittich, he is capable of being a number one goalie. He made the All-Star team last year. He beat you guys. He shut you out. So I'll tell you what, we'll eat half his salary. You give us a first, and I'll throw in coupons to Boston Pizza, 2-for-1 pizzas every Tuesday, and steaks 50% off.
Can they be heart shaped
You
pizzas?
want it so bad.
The only way the Leafs are trading for David Rittich is if Freddie Anderson is basically done for the season or he can't return to form, and they need a backup goaltender, and all the better ones, which there are better goalies out there, they're all snatched up. And David Rittich is like the last one. And in which case, you would have to take Freddie Anderson back in terms of salary cap. I would not trade a first for a backup goalie.
Well, who you might trade a first for is Sam Bennett.
No, I would not trade a first for Sam Bennett either.
Let me tell you Sam Bennett's rap sheet. 4th overall draft pick and a playoff stud. Okay, this is your
First
next
off,
coming.
I need to interrupt for a second because I love how you are wheeling and dealing with a freaking cowboy hat on.
They don't call me the Colonel.
You know
for
what?
nothing.
You should be doing it like an auctioneer voice right now.
Colonel Sanjay.
Hey, give me a first right now. We're got the first round pick right there. Okay.
Gerald used to be the
Ryan.
GM. That's probably how he did it back in the day when he made the Fanook trade.
Ryan, that's pretty good, actually. I will give you props as an auctioneer.
Maybe I should have the cowboy hat.
As someone who grew up going to auctions, I'm pretty impressed by that. Little happy with it.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, let's move up north to I know we've given up on this, but let's move up north to the Edmonton Oilers. So thumbs up, thumbs down. 3, 2, 1. All thumbs up. These are buyers from the looks of it. So Adam's going to explain to us, why they're buyers, but what they should be targeting and why. And
I think that
and
they
how.
should.
And
Oh,
what?
what's that?
Nothing.
Okay, they should be targeting a winger. They need a left winger. They're pretty set at right. They've got strength with Kyler Yamamoto. They've got strength with Puljujarvi, who has been unreal this year. They need a left winger that can stick it out. I've been happy with Cahoon. I think he's been doing some really good things and producing. Yeah, I knew Barron would hate that.
He literally got benched. He was the guy who coughed up the puck for the game-tying goal. He's either in your second line winger or he's out of the lineup. And I disagree completely that he has been anything but garbage this year.
But they keep going. I disagree with that.
Cahoon.
I disagree. He has
What has he done?
What's that?
Well, like
He was great with Draisaitl and Yamamoto when they played. Absolutely.
I'd look great next to Draisaitl.
And
Are you talking about his selfies, Adam?
I actually don't think he has been that good.
Is that how he looks good?
I thought he's been fine. I thought he's been good. And I really like Tyler Ennis. He's been good. And anytime he's been scratched, I've been like, why? He brings an energy to that lineup that they need. They miss.
Let's go back to the topic, though. Let's go back to the topic. Why do they need a left winger? Who should they be targeting?
You know what? I think someone that they could target and someone that I'm hesitant for them to target is Taylor Hall. You get Buffalo to eat some of his salary and you bring him back to Edmonton for the rest of this year and see how he does.
And who do you trade back? Because the Oilers do have $0 in cap space.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be dollars in, dollars out. Who would you trade back? Jason?
I would. You know what? That wouldn't be bad. Or you get them to take James Neal, but you get, Neal is kind of attractive to a new market too. He did so well in Vegas that he might be one of those things you want Seattle to kind of take. Who do you send back that way? I don't know if you want to part with Chris Russell.
Because you need to be, even a 50% salary before $4 So unless they do like a deal with another team where they could eat even more contract,
this is why I'm not a GM. This is yeah.
I think it's a common choice. He's like the top left winger available. He's having a low season, so he's probably
got
cheap.
History with the team.
Exactly.
History with the team. But I think Yvonne makes a valid point. How is that one going to fit? That is the concern.
But what you can do is you bring in a third team to eat another 50%, and then you're sending more draft picks and more. But you're
sending something away, and
you have to
don't have a lot.
Well, they have prospects.
Right.
They have some decent prospects. They don't have a lot of draft picks, at least not for this upcoming draft. But you know what? I don't think a lot of teams are that interested in this upcoming draft. You send the picks for the next draft.
Is it tough?
Who do you want to lose for that year, though? That could only be like a 15-game stint.
Yeah, look at how much the Oilers gave up for Athanasiou and Mike Green last year. 3 games out of Mike Green and then nothing out of Athanasiou, and they lost all their second-round picks, and now they have no picks really this year.
It really just comes down to, do they think they have a legitimate shot at the Stanley Cup? If you do, you go for it. If you think you're just more of a bubble team or a decent team but not a cup contender, then maybe you don't want to give up the farm. The other question I have, Adam, curious your thoughts on terms of going for offense when really they're an elite offensive team. But defensively is kind of where they more so struggle. Why not a defenseman?
Because we're deep with defensemen. I'm actually, this is the best defensive core we've had in a long time. I've actually been quite surprised that Caleb Jones hasn't drawn back in more often into this lineup. And I think it's because Chris Russell is such a defensive defenseman and grit guy that Tippett really likes that. And that's kind of, I think, a fault in Tippett's coaching style, is that he really likes that defensive style more than the breakout kind of offensive defenseman. And you got Bouchard, we got Broberg coming back. So
you're saying if they had a shot at Matthias Ekholm, you wouldn't want to bring him in?
Is Ekholm left side or right side?
He's left side, but he can play right side, but he's a left shot.
The Oilers are stacked on the right, but they actually do need is a left side defenseman.
Well, he is a left side defenseman.
Yeah. But here's the problem with your trade theory is legitimately that Nashville is now in the playoff hunt.
Right. For now. But yeah.
I hope someone drops out.
But I mean, his name's always on the trade board. So, or David Savard, although I guess Columbus is also kind of back in it now too. But I was just curious as to your thoughts on that.
It's interesting. We're going to move a little bit more easternly and go to everyone's favorite jet, the Winnipeg Jet. And let's talk a little bit about this. What's this team looking for? Adam, might as well do double duty, go back to back. What is Winnipeg? We're going to do buyer and seller. Sorry, thumbs up, thumbs down. It was so long. And then we'll explain what we think about it. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. They are buyers. Okay, Adam, explain to us what this team is looking for, if anything.
I think they're looking for a top defenseman. I think they're solid down the middle. They've got a solid first two lines. I think Kopp and Ehlers has really shown up for them this year. Kyle Connor, Wheeler, Scheifele, Dubois, they've got a really good core of players that work hard. What they need is a top defenseman. They've got a pretty good work by committee defensive system, but it's just not good enough to get past teams like Toronto at times or Edmonton. And they need someone to be able to shut down those players and also produce from the back end.
No, I agree, Adam. Like right now they're asking Josh Morrissey to be a number one defenseman. And at this point in time, he's just not a number one defenseman. So, I mean, I mentioned before Matthias Ekholm. I mean, I think that's who they're targeting if he be available. Or, I mean, I've also heard if Ryan Ellis is available, they'd want to target him. I think that's kind of where they would be looking for sure. I agree.
I have a friend who's a very big Jets fan, and he basically described it as saying he's never seen a team where the defense is so bad that it's actually a benefit to the opposition. And he's like, if you watch them play, the way they defend, the way they cough pucks over, Hellebuck's working way harder, and that's the reason they're competitive. Now, I thought that because of that this year, they would drop off. Hellebuck's a stud.
Hellebuck's a stud. Brossoit has done really well. I have to say, we kind of teased Adam in the preseason podcast when he said that tandem is one of the best in the NHL. I have to say it right now that they are. Because
Brossoit lost the last two games. There, said it.
And that last goal by Brossoit, oh my God. But I mean, he has played really well, as is Hellebuck. And you're right, Baron. Their defense is like among the worst in the NHL. Like they're ranked 30th in scoring chances against and expected goals against per 60. They are brutal.
Imagine
their goaltending is awesome, and their power play has come back on this year.
Good. Imagine as a goalie stepping out there knowing that you are going to get wired shots from prime grade A scoring chances nonstop every game.
Yeah.
That would wear you out mentally. It would just have to.
Although, I kind of wonder if some goalies thrive on that, because Freddie Anderson was in that seat as well back when he first started with the Leafs. The Leafs were not a great defensive team for many years, and they got outshot every single game, and he got peppered, and he was phenomenal. But now that all of a sudden their team is better defensively in front of him, his plays dropped off. I just wonder, sometimes some goalies prefer to see a lot of rubber and they get in this great groove as opposed to, not getting as many shots on them.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to move to Ottawa Senators. Buyers up, sellers down. 3, 2, 1. Sell City. But Sanjay is saying buyers. All right, Sanjay, this is your load to carry.
All right, so this is my theory, and this could be completely wrong, but I imagine the Senators have a lot of cap space.
Just mute it. Just mute it.
No, I imagine the Senators have a lot of cap space, and if you're the team you just mentioned, Ottawa or Edmonton, Ottawa could be like, I'll take a player off your hand for you with a draft pick, and then we'll give you like another draft pick. So like, will you send us Chase on in a second, and we'll send you our third kind of thing. And I think they could use that to their advantage because they know they probably won't be as competitive next year, and some of those contracts that are expiring that people just need to get off their hands. Ottawa could be like, bring them over, send us draft picks, give us more. We have the cap space. Let's do it. So that's my thinking.
Very valid. Very valid. Actually, I think it's a good point. They do have the ability to do some stuff.
To be honest, I never consider that as
a
buyer, right? Like that's taking advantage of your cap space, but you're still. I mean, I guess you technically are buying, but you're still getting assets, right? You're still getting picks and prospects back for helping teams with their cap hit. Yeah. But I understand what you're trying to say there, Sanjay.
All right, let's go to Toronto. 3, 2, 1. Buyer City. Pilon, this is your baby. Why don't you show it off?
Oh, I still think they're going to go.
Can they do it with the budget that they've got?
They have $310,000 more than Edmonton. More so, actually, if Freddie stays on the LTIR.
That was by the numbers with Ryan.
Yes,
I wish
thank
I
you.
had $300,000.
Oh my God, and that's just pennies. Anyways, I think they're still going to go forward. Like Alex Galchenyuk has come in and he's provided really good play on that second line, which is where I was thinking that they were weak at. Still a short sample size. I think they'll continue to watch him. But if he's playing good there, I think that's fine. And then the zip line with Hyman, Engvall, and Mikheyev all of a sudden came on, and it looked like, oh, maybe our third line center position is fine. But lately, what the problem has been is the left wing beside Matthews and Marner. It was Thornton. He was doing really well there, but all of a sudden his play started kind of sputter a bit. And I think it's just he was starting to get tired. They played a lot of games. I think it was like 8 games in 14 days. And his age started to show a bit. And so I think that is a concern, especially when you're going into the playoffs. Can you trust Thornton to be able to play that kind of style of hockey, throughout the entire playoffs? So I'm thinking they still need someone up there on the top line with them, with Matthews and Marner. Or if Hyman goes up there and he plays really well there, then that zip line goes to shit because Hyman basically just drives that line. As soon as he's away from those two, they're not effective. In which case, then maybe they're going for a third line center. So depends what they're looking for. If they're going for a wing, I'd go with Palmieri. If they're going for a center, I'd really like Boone Jenner as a third line center. I think he would bring the physicality and penalty killing that this team desperately
needs. You have
needs.
Kerfoot. Stop.
No, Kerfoot right now is a fourth line center.
Yeah, he is.
On the Leafs. He's a fourth, he's fast. He does some things well, but he just hasn't been able to stick as third line center. I just don't think, he is good enough there. And for $3.5 million, that's just too much money. That's just too much money. Engvall makes a lot less money. He'd be fine probably in the fourth line center spot. And then you get maybe a Boone Jenner, or I know they've been talking about Michael Granlund. I'm not sure if Granlund's that much more of a upgrade over Kerfoot personally, but someone who brings a different sort of presence and penalty killing, because that is the team's weakness. I mean, the power play's gone to shit too, but overall throughout the season, their power play has been good. Their penalty kill has been really not great this year. So Boone Jenner's a fantastic penalty killer, and he'd be automatically the team leader in hits, I'm pretty sure, coming onto the team. And he can contribute some points on third line. Simmons is good. But like Boone Jenner hits too. Like you
love Boone Jenner.
I love the name Boone Jenner.
World Junior Champion.
But again, Columbus is kind of back in the playoffs or in the playoff race. Plus, he's not a UFA. He still has one more year on his contract, so I'm not sure if Columbus would be willing to do that. But I would love Boone Jenner on the third line, and then move Hyman up to first.
What is it about Joe Thornton that doesn't inspire playoff confidence for you?
It's just his age
That's a
and
joke.
durability.
No, he's always been terrible in the playoffs. So that's a joke.
What about, speaking of someone that's
he hasn't had the success in the playoffs. Yeah, in
Great
team
regular season,
success.
poor
Yeah.
playoffs? But what about a guy with poor regular season, great playoff success?
Oh my
in Sam
God!
Bennett?
Don't. Oh my God! I knew you were going there.
Bennett.
Former, let me just say, Sam Bennett in the playoffs is a different animal.
Oh my
and
God.
You need that. The
Throw
Leafs,
Rittich in there. Throw him in there for helping out.
Yeah, we'll give you a
One.
we'll give you a
Two for
6th
what?
round pick.
the good thing about Sam Bennett, $2 million deal. So we eat half. You're only adding $1 million in cap space. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect.
All right, let's move on to the Montreal
Car
Canadiens.
salesman.
Let's move on to the Montreal Canadiens here, who are essentially the last team who have already made a trade. Or did we start with them? I think we started with them, kind of. Are they done though? Are they done? We'll throw it out to the panel, but are they done at all, or where are we at?
I say they'll still make another move. I think they really want to make this.
I think they're going to buy.
I do too. Yeah.
I think they'll at least try. Like, it's a lot tighter now with the salary cap after bringing in Eric Staal, but I think they would still try to upgrade their team if they can.
Yeah.
And where?
I think they're in the same kind of position as Toronto in that their penalty kill is their weakest spot, and if they could bring in someone
Riley Sheehan
to play on that penalty kill, Boone Jenner. Maybe they'll go after Boone Jenner too.
Honestly, Riley Sheehan was caved in as like the third line, fourth line center on the Oilers, but as a PK guy, he was legit. So you can bring him in as a winger, rotate him in on just like you're going to take face-offs, you're going to PK, and then you're going to sit your butt on the bench. And that might work. I mean, honestly, but it's just something to think about. All right, we're going to jump to our last segment here. This is our retro reverse segment. This is a little bit of a throwback to the old argue opposites. Essentially, the way this works is you are given a topic that is probably, at least my assumption, probably opposite to your view, and you have to argue for it. You're not going to be given a lot of time. Roughly, I would say something along the lines of like a minute to 2 minutes. Nothing too long, because I don't want to make you suffer any more than I have to suffer, gentle viewers. So we're going to start off with the first one here. The first one is going to be between Pilon, Ryan, and Adam. And Pilon, I want you to start it. You are going to argue. I'm just going to get my my watch here going again. You are going to argue for. I hit the button so stupidly. You're going to argue that the Leafs shouldn't put much stock in beating the Oilers this season. Why? 3, 2, 1, go.
The Leafs shouldn't put stock because it's the regular season, and that all goes out once it comes to the playoffs.
Very good. It's a good argument there. That was quick. I actually thought you'd go a little bit more than that.
Oh, I thought it had to be quick. Can I go longer?
Yes, you can go up to like a minute or two. Like.
Oh, okay. Well, give me a signal when to stop, I guess. You want to keep going, or is that good?
No, you keep talking. You got another 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, the Oilers are a very dangerous team, and trying to stop McDavid and Draisaitl every single night will be difficult. And I think Mike Smith will be a big issue for the Leafs. If he can get really hot, it's been proven that it's very difficult to stop him. So most of the games against the Oilers were very close. 3, I believe, went into overtime, and the overtime is basically a crapshoot. They had that 3-game stretch where they dominated, but after that, everything else was pretty even. Oilers are a good team, and so the Leafs shouldn't take them lightly.
Right, very good. Adam, your argument is going to be why the losses to the Leaf means the Oilers are not ready or contenders.
Ooh.
When you're ready, 3, 2, 1, go.
The Oilers just aren't ready. You got a really horrible team in the Leafs. I'm just kidding. Well, let's look at it this way. You have these teams that have really pushed the Maple Leafs this year in the Calgary Flames, the Ottawa Senators, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Leafs have struggled against them, struggled to pull out wins. And when you're like that, and you're Edmonton and you're losing and being shut out almost 3 times in a row, it's time to rebuild.
I love how your explanation was basically burying the Leafs.
Yeah. I don't know if you understand how the game works. But,
I was going to just say.
I was very complimentary to the Oilers.
I was going to say
a mistake.
I was argue for it here.
Hey, I was just gonna say, I agree with Pilon.
All right, next one's going to be between Sanjay and Adam.
Okay.
And I feel like Sanjay, this is actually, after today, this is a little bit more on point than I thought it would be. I thought you would argue the opposite. But I'd like you to tell me why the Calgary Flames will not make the playoffs and why it's time to blow up the roster. 3, 2.
Okay. Well,
1.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, as they used to say in these parts. And sometimes when you turn over coaches as much as you have, eventually it stops becoming a coach problem and it becomes a player problem. And you look at these players and they've had how many coaches now? I think they're on coach number 5 or 6. And they've had coaches that have won the Jack Adams, coaches that have won Stanley Cups, and still consistency is an issue. So when you have that consistency and you have certain players that have been with that core group for a long time, I think eventually it's time to change that core out and bring in someone fresh and some fresh new faces and fresh new players.
Nice.
I really wanted you to say you have coaches that play fair and coaches that don't.
Only old school fans will get that reference. But,
yeah.
Adam, yours is, why should people in the North or in the North Division, why should fans in hockey in the North Division not sleep on the Calgary Flames?
Well, I wouldn't sleep on the Calgary Flames because they do have a top pairing in Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau, who have shown up at prime times in the season, late in the season. They know how to win games when down in the third period. That was their MO a couple of years ago. They were a scary team to play against. You've got Markstrom, who was arguably one of the best goaltenders in the league last year, and
he can't help but throw a little dig in.
No, he's a stabber.
For all of these explanations.
Just stabs it.
You're probably not to invite Adam to speak at my funeral. Like, Sanjay was a decent guy for a while, but he was kind of a jerk as well. Let me tell you all the reasons why I don't like
Yeah, he switches it so casually. Hey, he's just like, orange is a great color. But, that time that it beat up yellow is really a piece of garbage. Everyone hates it because it looks ugly on everything. And then, but like orange, good color. All right, our final one for today's segment is between Pilon versus Sanjay. And you can let us know on Twitter what you want.
I kind of want Adam to do another one. All right.
Well, I did one for each or two for each of you because I thought that was a balance. And this one was the toughest one because I was like, you two seem to agree on everything, so it's really hard to find something
Me and
that
Sanjay,
you can argue about.
Because we're geniuses.
Yeah. Because you both like numbers instead of people.
Numbers can hurt you.
That's true. They never lie, Baron.
Oh my God. All right. Can't wait for this episode to be over. Pilon, you're arguing why Ottawa is closer to being a playoff team than Vancouver. Go.
Well, you look at Ottawa's prospects right now. You have Tim Stützle, you have Josh Norris, you have Artem Zub, all guys that are right up there in the Calder race. They have a lot of great prospects coming up in the pipeline too. And because of that, they have some real great studs coming up. Batherson, Shabbat, the best Kachuk in the league. You have all these guys that, are really going to help the Ottawa Senators moving into the future. And I think their future is very bright.
Welcome to the Casual Dig Club.
I had to throw one in because
that was good.
Because Adam wasn't doing this.
I might as well score that point to you for that. I think Adam's got the most points so far. All right, Sanjay, to cap her off here. Why is Vancouver closer to being a playoff team? And does Jay Beagle actually talk to you? Go.
Is Vancouver closer to being a playoff team? Absolutely. Look what they did last year.
You can't even make it through the segment. You can't even make it through the segment. Come on.
Yeah, no, Vancouver's closer because, look what they did last year. They almost made it to the third round. They have Thatcher Demko, who's an unreal goalie. At Ottawa's goaltending, it's kind of questionable, to be honest with you. Then they also have tons of offensive forwards like Pettersson, Höglander, Besser. You throw in Hughes on the back end. This team is built for success. Does JB actually talk to me? No, I just started the fan club. No, he does. He does talk to me. He invited me over when he won the Stanley Cup, and had the barbecue at his house, and that's where I got that amazing picture somewhere behind me back there. I pretty much taught him everything he knows about face-offs. So
for some reason, after all this time, you still don't know where anything is in your room. Like you're like the wall. It's on the wall to the right of me. Left.
Right there.
Right.
The Paul Coffey jersey is.
It's reversed here, okay? Alberta's reversed. It's Saskatchewan. It's different here.
It's true. It's true.
I always thought Albertans were backwards.
Is that gray? Is that gray right there?
It's gray.
It's gray. I love
the hair or the hat? I was looking at the
hair. The hair.
Did you have a white patch still?
Yeah, somewhere around here.
It hides well. At least you have hair. Mine's just everyone on this who's wearing a hat in this segment is going bald.
Or haven't gotten their hair cut in a while.
Sanjay is using Rogaine still. Sponsor of the pod, hopefully one day. Yeah,
whatever works with these luscious locks.
Those plugs you got, amazing. Fantastic.
I know. Call 1-800-PLUGS, not just for your fourth line, but also for your hair.
Nice. 2 minutes for looking so good, let me tell you.
All
right. Well, that wraps up this episode of Delayed Offside. Like, subscribe, hit all the fun things, spread us to your friends, I guess. Tell them about us. Sure. Maybe not. Whatever. I think
maybe not this episode, but like the previous episode.
Good episodes, not this episode.
I like this episode. And so
I had fun.
It was just chaos. Yeah.
It was chaotic. Great. But I mean, next week there'll probably be like one of us doing the episode. So who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I'm Baron.
I'm Adam.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Sanjay.
Thanks for listening to Delayed Offside. Like, subscribe, keep clicks coming, ask questions. Thanks, everything.
Yeehaw.
Delayed Offside.